We are back with Haven's $100 million update series. So I wanted to give some updates on how things happened last year, what's got to us to this point. We're in February now, 2026, which beginning of this year has already gone by pretty quickly. But wanted to update you guys. We finished last year very strong, about $780,000 in revenue. But with that said, we have a very low profit margin, which is improving drastically, which I'm happy about. But I think a lot of that had to do with shifting avatars, kind of, startup phase. We had to spend the money on a lot of things that are kind of running smoother now, fixed our money model, things along those lines. So super happy with where the numbers are going. I think we can hit, hopefully 1.5 million this year. I'd like to almost, I guess it would be pretty much doubling the revenue from the company. We brought sales revenue in this year at the end of the year, which has helped a ton. That was kind of separate before. But 2025 is all about moving to focus on multifamily and portfolio turnaround clients. And this is our new bread and butter. We built every offer that we have now around that, and it's what we're going to be focused on going forward. Client obviously has more money to spend. Their valuations are different on their properties. They're willing to spend money because there's multiples involved when you deal with cap rates and multifamily properties. So I think this is actually going to help the business a ton. Even though we have less clients as a target now, it's also something that I enjoy. So that helps with just the grind part of it. That new money model is going to be the most profitable lifetime gross profit, especially looking at full turnarounds. Full turnaround programs can be anywhere from $150,000 to $400,000 over the lifetime of a multifamily or portfolio client, until they exit, whether that's a sale, and hopefully they use us to buy, another property, trade up and do the same thing over again. But even if it's not a complete turnaround, we're still looking at probably 20xing what that lifetime gross profit was based on our previous customers, how we were getting those customers and things along those lines. Our focus on 2026 is going to be leads and execution, providing daily and weekly proof of actually projects that we've been working on. We've been building a base of case studies and things along those lines to show multifamily turnarounds, and it's not always a huge construction project. You bring us a portfolio and, we look at operations, we look at expenses, we look at things that we can tweak to get the portfolio from point A to point B. Trying to also document all of our internal SOPs, which is a huge undertaking because we've got a lot of different processes, especially between sales, management, and construction, how all those things work internally, the finances for each one of those, how billing happens, how payment happens, how marketing goes for all those. So trying to create a huge, internal document for all of our SOPs. And then I'm also have been looking at removing myself as the constraint. So went out to Alex Hormozzi's or acquisition.com's initial workshop out in Vegas. It was a 2-day thing. And the biggest thing, apart from us not making any money last year, the biggest thing that I learned from that was, hey, we're on the right path with the avatar. We're niching down. The niche that we pick is super affluent, so they've got the money to spend. We're catering to the top 1% or at least the top 30% of high income earners that own multifamily properties, so that's a plus. But the other thing was I am a constraint in specific areas of the business that I need to fix. And I've already taken some initiative and fixed some of those things. So the biggest one was I was still 100% focused, because I'm the broker, on the residential sales. And I think it doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense for me to just stiff arm that business right now and not do any of it. So what I did was bring on an agent. She's actually starting next week. That's going to take all of my residential listings and buyers that typically I would spend time working on. She's going to take those out and run with them, and then we're going to have a much lower split as far as what I'm bringing in on those. But it allows me to go focus on multifamily owners, acquiring multifamily properties for our portfolio and our clients who are within our portfolio group. And, I could probably 10x my income on the sales side by focusing on that and not grandma and grandpa's house down the road. So that's going to be huge. Also brought on a part-time GC. Unfortunately, right now we are not in the position to pay somebody full-time, but I've kind of found a guy that's willing to grow with us. Might not be the most experienced person, but he's a hell of a contractor and he's got a lot of experience in the field. So I think if we groom him enough to kind of get with our processes and things along those lines, and we get more leads in, we execute more of these turnaround projects, he's going to take a lot of the project management side of things off my plate, which will again free me up to go find more deals, find more leads, run the business, grow the business, and it just kind of trickles down from there. And then the last person we brought on is a maintenance coordinator. So that's more of a relief from our director of property management, because she's been dealing with that right now, and it'll take a lot off her plate and be really good internally, so we can continue to add more units without having to hire another full-time property manager. This person was already a contractor within our network. She's bilingual. She's very organized, things along those lines. So she will be able to actually, kind of run the day-to-day maintenance side, get work orders out, things along those lines, free our director property manager up, free our assistant property manager up, and I can continue to add more units without having to hire a new full-time person to support them in those roles. So those three things were the three biggest bottlenecks that I left the acquisition.com workshop with, and we have almost executed on all three of them now. So that's super exciting. Now it's looking at, okay, leads, how do we get more business? How do we get more people in the door? And finding out what that ascension ladder is. Right now, our ascension ladder is, we have a multifamily performance review assessment that we're running ads to on Meta right now. And you take a 15-question quiz. It dynamically, sends you out results. These are the areas you're doing well in. These are the areas that you're struggling in. Here's some suggestions on each one of those, and then gives me a lot of information about the person that has filled that out and their contact info, obviously, to reach out to them, to then upsell them or ascend them into the next step, which is the multifamily turnaround playbook, the audit and the playbook that we do. That is a paid product, but it's an actual 2-week deep dive on their property specifically. So it gives them more specifics than our performance review does, and actually gives them an action plan or a playbook to implement the suggestions that we're giving them. It shows them what the property looks like now, how the cash flow is going, what the value is, the action plan to execute to bring it to the stabilized point, and then we show the pro forma for that property, new numbers, new operations, new net operating income and profit, and a new value. And then we can deliver that to them, and they can either keep it and try and run that themselves, or a lot of times these owners are busy and they don't have the team, they don't have the system. So then we ascend them into our core services, which are, property management, asset management, construction management, and then, acquisitions and sales as well. So that's kind of our 3-step ascension ladder. And then we hope that they continue to buy properties with us in the future and continue to add properties to those portfolios and units to those portfolios. So that gives us, recurring revenue on the back end, and we can really start to compound everything as we go that way. So that's the bird's eye view, bird's eye update. Our goal for this year, like I said, 1.5 million. And, we'll go from there. We'll continue to chip away at it. In June, I'm going back out to acquisition.com's Value Accelerator Method workshop. That's the level 2 one, where we sit in a tight boardroom instead of 100 people in a room and really dig into everything. So really trying to focus on just running all our systems, keeping all our numbers, get the right people in place, just grind this thing out. And then when we go out in June, I'm going to have a ton of data to be able to look at it and say, hey, why is this not growing as fast as I want it to? Should I, adjust things here or there? Should I completely change like the offers that we're offering, things like that? But without that data, which I didn't have last time I went out there, to be honest, in October, it really opened my eyes. So we're working on that now. I'm excited to see where this thing grows. Still kind of figuring out what the scaling model for this is, with a property management company, or I don't even like to call it a property management company, with a investment services firm like this. There's a lot of moving pieces, there's a lot of boots on the ground. So I'm still kind of trying to figure out whether it makes more sense to have physical locations in different areas and they run, we run them, or if it's more of a licensing model like Alex's, gym launch series, that we, license our playbooks out as turnaround projects, or, we become like a cloud brokerage for asset management, but let everybody else run, day-to-day operations in their area. So that's another thing I'm really curious to kind of dig into when we go out there in June. Not that we're ready to do that yet, but as we're building here, we might as well build for that, whatever that model is going to be into the future. So really curious to get their team's insights on that. And we'll keep chipping away. I'm going to try and do more of these updates. If you want to keep in touch with us, keep in touch with our projects, keep in touch with the business, hit the follow button, subscribe, and we'll keep grinding away. Reach out to me if you ever need anything.